It's a glitch, bro. It's gotta be a glitch. If we all feel that way.
He won't even. Honestly, I was like, don't send it. He didn't even respond to me. He didn't say anything. I think he froze.
Oh no.
We lost.
No,
I was like, oh, that was good. That was good.
Fucking got me, man.
I mean, the information really is out there now,
yeah.
because like even stuff I told you, that Dr. Judy Wood, where did the towers go? They had,
Yeah.
you think about if you watch just like 2 hours of her stuff. She is a forensic scientist, and she breaks down how there were cars on the FDR that were melted. They had melted steel. The wheels of the steel of the cars, like aluminum alloy wheels, just melted. But you had thousands and thousands of pieces of paper floating around the street. So the explanation of the 9/11 report is that the heat from this burned all this other stuff, burned these cars, burned this other. But then you sit and you look, you could see the images that there's all this stuff, this rubble, it turned to dust. There's not one ceramic toilet bowl, there's not one urinal, there's not one sink. Everything is gone, decimated. Nothing shows up but this guy's passport.
That we find in the middle of the street.
This guy's passport and amongst all this other, like even the FDNY, right? That's why you can't even also talk about it, because they've already accepted the money that all the guys and their families were paid because of all the diseases that came with the fucking type of
Lung
shit.
cancer and the.
But wait, hold on, because like go back to the explosion and stuff. Like, it's because I want to even kind of challenge that a little bit. Even if it was something different, or like to what you're saying, I get what you're saying. Like the heat should have like melted all paper or caught on fire or whatever it is. But in an explosion or something like that, in the sense of like when the plane hit or whatever, the pressure of the explosion, or like when the gas tanks blew or whatever it was, that pressure would shoot shit out like fucking crazy. So not everything necessarily would catch, especially because if it's being shot like that, like wind is a factor and stuff like that. So
that was
it doesn't mean every
aspect.
piece of everything would be disintegrated. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what happened though. Everything got disintegrated.
No, well, yeah, anything close could have, but not everything, in the sense of, yeah, there could have been a passport that was flying or whatever. Like things could have been in the debris that didn't get burned, and then other things could have been gone.
You would expect there to be debris and rubble. A building falls down, you would expect there to be pieces of the floors and the rubble, especially there was none.
Of no floors of the whole 90-something building.
Correct. And the further you dig into this, you'll see all the original reports, all the original news reports that aired like immediately. Some of them were asking, where's the rubble? Some of the people that were reporting on the Pentagon, they said there's no evidence of a plane anywhere near here. And that was at the Pentagon. Then you had the straight with in New York and Manhattan, you had firefighters that were being interviewed on the spot. You could find the footage. They were like, yo, there were explosions in the building.
They
it was
heard
like
them going boom, 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 like a demolition.
They have all this is out there. That basically there was no way jet fuel from two planes on the 100 whatever floor was able to pancake that building, and that was the explanation.
Okay.
That was the explanation. That's the explanation in the 9/11 report. It's like a one-page document, 13 or 16
I remember
hijackers
about like how
day.
hot the jet fuel got or whatever, or something like
You know
that.
what's a good thing to actually throw out here? It's a whole website, and it was a whole movement back in 2007, and that was with the whole Occupy. And the problem with that is that when they did the whole Occupy with the Zeitgeist movement, you guys ever hear of the Zeitgeist?
Yeah, I watched the 3 movies of them.
The first one, right? You know the first one? That was the real deal one. The ones that followed, they kind of like, investors got their hands in their pockets somehow. And they were pushing an agenda. But the first Zeitgeist movement really goes into the whole 9/11 as well, besides the Dr. Judy Wood, where did the towers go? She basically shows you how it was a crime scene and it was not anything other than that. There was anomalies. It was a shock and awe treatment, like a tactic that was perpetuated on the whole world, essentially for profit. What it came down to.
Well, I remember you saying about like the fire, the things that needed to be installed throughout the building from like whatever year that the regulations had changed. And
Well,
I mean, I get the aspect of like saving money, like that part of it I do get, and I get the aspect of saving money and looking better in the public's eye and like trying to cover something up. Like I do get that. But I just
well, here's the here if you want to go into it, the Building 7. Besides the fact that they have the video footage of the phone call of the recording of the guy who says pull it when they meant to destroy the building with the people still in it. But the Building 7, you could find this information that they had a guy, I think it was an investigation with the FBI, and the FBI has a holding in that in that building. Let me see. FBI World Trade Center 7.
So the
What
thing about
was it?
Building 7 that fucking gets to me is that there was no planes had hit that one. Nothing had hit that. So how did that building go? Number one.
I know this is gonna
Number
sound so
two,
bad.
number two,
Yeah.
on the news channel, I think it was in London, it might have been in Britain and whatever it is, in Europe. They had a live feed of New York City in the background, and they said we just got confirmation that Building 7 has now been demolished, and it was still up in the background of the whole video thing. And that's another thing you could see too.
I know this is gonna sound really bad. What is Building 7? I thought there were only two
So
buildings.
no, there was 7 buildings in the World Trade Center.
Complex.
Oh, I got you. So the Twin
Yeah.
Towers were just 2 of 7 buildings.
Building 1 and 2, and then it had a little complex. Yeah.
Yeah, like
So
smaller buildings.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
yes, and I'm actually on it says it's 47 stories tall. The other ones we didn't get into that one, but it was 47 stories tall. And it says due to structural sustainable damage and debris nearby, multiple lower floors, and it would continue to uncontrolled burn through on blah 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 blah. So it lacked water pressure, and then the collapse began when a critical internal column buckled. Right, but you could watch the video for the fall of Building 7 and compare it to any basically controlled demolition that has happened throughout history, and it is a controlled demolition. And the reason why you're starting, you want to go into 9/11 is because the Donald, what's his face, Rumsey was the missing $2 trillion.
$2 trillion, yeah.
Where did the money go? And it's always follow the money.
Mm.
And Dan's gonna like this because the United States, is embedded with, this is gonna sound crazy, but your word extraterrestrial, and they have been since back in the Reagan days prior. Eisenhower, all of them knew about that. And it's not from infinity and beyond type of galaxy. It's from a contained, here's that word again, realm where we're standing on, but we're not allowed past that
outer rim,
yeah.
that breaching.
But bodies and beings that have existed way before us have their bloodlines, their families have interacted. There's this map that I found too. I had it up in my thing because I'm looking for a way that I can get it, and I'm actually going to send it to you right now, Dan. But it's a terrible cop way to see it. But I saw it and I'm trying to find it again. But it's basically like a story. Like in these old maps, they used to tell stories on the outer rims. You know what I mean? Like they would have boats and navigations. There would be little doctrines in Latin of like the captain's little experience and
his
what he
log
saw
and stuff in the journals.
And they have these maps have mermaids, they have Loch Ness
Monsters,
monsters,
dragons. Yep.
they have zephyrs, they have giants. They have, what are they? What were they?
Krakens.
And what I'm trying to get at, and why it even goes to where we started talking about on that day. On that day, something occurred that was way beyond uh, any like understanding for anybody in the world that day, except the people who knew what their plan was from that moment. It took them 20 years of a psyop. We'll use that word again. They needed something. They enacted the terrorism act. Then you had Snowden come out and says that all the money that the taxpayers have been paying for this terrorism act has been used against them, their own people, instead of actually trying to find terrorists outside of the world. It's a money grab, and it's from the tax dollars. And the problem is, people think that this political group or this political group are going to change anything. But and did you know that the night that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, that like 3 other people were targeted? The vice president, the secretary of state, they all were like attacked and tried to get assassinated that day. And the reason why is that was the last time that there was any other political party besides Republican and Democrat running this country. And here's my conspiracy. How many white guys named Abraham?
True.
Okay.
What you think about that?
I don't know anybody named Abraham.
You could go into the history of historians, and they said that Abraham Lincoln was a mulatto, and that's why, during that period, like even look, how about this? What's his face?
What's he saying? That's why he was killed?
Well, it's not that he was. Yeah, well, besides the fact that he was killed, he allegedly freed the slaves, but the fact that he was a mulatto and the president, this country had a previous black president before that had freed black people, and then there was an overtaking to take him out, take out everybody else, and there's really. Oh, okay, you say this, the Freemasons, you say the Illuminati, who are they? What are they? They're operating different groups in both of the same sectors.
What do you mean?
Left, right.
Oh, like in blue and red. I got you.
And they all have an ultimate goal of neither. They have their ultimate goal, a common purpose. Right, you could look
but
that
it makes
up.
Looks like it's split up into 2 teams or 2 sides, or technically like 16
and they
sides.
will never have the interest of the people.
No, I hear you.
Right.
And honestly,
Like,
that's class. Sorry, yeah, do what?
I was gonna say they have their hands in both sides of the war, so it doesn't matter who quote unquote wins. They're profiting from it all the time.
Well, because exactly, it's not really the whoever wins is just a magic show, and that's a classic thing in like anything, just like in fame and
puppet master, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like famous
master.
people do that all the time. 6ix9ine did it, like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people do that shit. That let's stage a fucking beef or something like that to like get some fucking notice here, or like
you guys see this thing attention that Dubai built? You guys try to find it. It's a cruise boat that Dubai built. It's like a city on a boat. It's literally a city boat, like a city on a boat. And it looks like a turtle.
Yeah, I have seen this. It looks like a giant sea turtle. And so now what the reason why I'm bringing that up is the water levels, right? We can see it all around the world. You can find this little article snippet I read. This guy in Greenland has a property that's on a waterfront property, and his property line has been expanded by, like, again, don't quote me on the numbers because it's been a while since I read this article, but his property line is expanding by the kilometers each, like 10 years. He's had the property for however many decades, and he's got more land that he started with. And that's because the shorefront, the tide doesn't come in anymore because he's in Greenland. Like, so the water is going down. So like you can see places in Venice and Florida and places that have low low levels to the sea
levels.
Like land, like houses and stuff businesses that are close to sea level, the water level is rising. Like, when we see this, when we see these anomalies are going, these weather anomalies happening all over the world, they just don't report it on unless you're like really into it, right? Like there's volcanoes erupting constantly every day. There's small little earthquakes every day, and but like unless you're really on that website, you're not going to see about the 2 point whatever. They only report like the
Right.
6. You know what I mean? But there is even this base out in the like Fiji Islands. I forget what one it is, close to U.S. uh U.S. operational base, and then there was this like town, major town over there, and they experienced like a tsunami. And they said that like there were reports that they were experienced this tsunami because some military testing that was out there. Right? There's shit that's happening all around us that we'll never know about, and the intention.
That's what I was just gonna ask you. I was gonna say, so what does this have to do with 9/11 with but okay, so it's just a matter of that this is them doing this isn't just the first time, it's happened so many other different times.
So the they, right? So them. So they is the people who are the puppet masters. They have to run this. What did you ever think? Why is Russia's colors the same as the United States, the same as France, the same as England? It's like it's all the same fucking colors of the,
Just
of
in
the
different
country,
order.
just in different order. And it's because of the same czarist families, the Russian families that at the collapse of whatever 1800s, when they took all the land and they took everything. Those are the same coat of arms that these people keep. So you go to a court, any court for traffic court, you go into a court, you got freaking Roman pillars and Roman like obelisk and stuff at this court. And you think to yourself, what the hell does the United States have to do with Rome? And it shouldn't, but it is, because what we're living in, even with that pyramid on the back of the dollar with that eye, it has Latin. The New World Order, it says. You break down, go ahead, look that up. What is it? What does the back of the dollar say in Latin? Well, why does it say that? It's fucking, that's what we're living in, and everything in this world is compared to the dollar. So now why do you need the dollar? Why do you go to war for this profit? And it's
What is
to
it's
do
Novus Ordo Seclorum, right? Or something like that. Seclorum.
Something like that.
I think that's what it says on the back of the dollar. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's like Novus something. I'll Google it. Novus Ordo.
It's funny that
Novus Ordo Seclorum.
Because he just like mentioned the dollars up. I think it's funny that I saw this video like a while back. I forget who it was that was in it, but it was like a bunch of guys in a barbershop, and they're talking about like the Illuminati and stuff. And they're talking about like the symbols and stuff, and like the checkerboard floor and the pyramid with the eye and the cover in the eye and the like all of the horns and like all the different shit. And I just think it's funny that like the pyramid with the eye is probably the most known Illuminati symbol, like as a conspiracy theory, and yet it's on our money, and people still don't fucking believe
people worship that.
But
that's what
not
they
even
worship.
that they worship it, because they don't realize
They
they
will die
worship
for
it,
that.
how much they wear exactly for money. But and you don't realize that the symbol's like right on it, like in your
It's
fucking
symbolism,
face,
bro.
like all
That's how
like
that's
like
how
how
they
everyone says.
communicate, and that's all about it. Symbolism.
I didn't know the
Symbolism
checkerboard
rules the
floor was
world.
one either. I didn't know that the checkerboard floor was something, and that's something that I like notice all the fucking time now.
Yeah, that was big. One of my the room that I had, I put those vinyl checkered floors, and every, my wife's gonna hate this if she listens to it, but every chick that walked in there said they love that energy. But energy really does transfer between the black and white. You can look it up, that the Haitians, even those Santa Maria and the Haitian voodoo priests, that's what they do. They draw their circles and their pentagons on black and white checkered floors, or
and even
go to the
and even if somebody hears that and they don't believe that about like the black and white and everything, yin yang it's everybody knows it, like that's like a thing forever, like the balance
yin
of
and the
black
yang. I'm glad you brought the yin and the yang up. The yin and yang has a different ancient bearing than just the black and the white floors. The black and white floors would be the two realms, like we said that one time we spoke about the dead and the undead, that there's living and the unliving, so the light and the dark, right? So the yin and the yang, ancient cultures knew that the reason why it's depicted as a bright white, or even to have sun and moon, dragon, or whatever, you could depict any artistic visual of the yin and yang you want, but it is a clear white and a clear black with a small dot of the reflection. So now, so let's say in the black, yet part of the yin yang, you have a small white dot, right?
Mhm.
Let's say that's the moon, right? And the moon brings the darkness on that half of the earth it's showing. And then on the white side, you have a black sun, right? And that black sun is producing all the light on the other sides. And it's a constant rotation, the yin and the yang. The ones will bring that light and the one will bring the dark. And ancient cultures knew that in the yin and the yang.
It's about balance. Yeah.
Mhm.
Same thing with like good and evil and whatnot.
Oh, I love when people talk about balance because it makes me think about Star Wars, but it's so fucking true, man. Like
You got to
I
bring
talk
balance to
about
the
balance and
force.
stuff all the time. Like when somebody's talking about like how bad of a day they're having and this and that, like my first thing to always say is you have to have that day to appreciate whatever good is going to be
Correct.
coming in the near future. Something bad has to happen because if that good thing is going to happen to you and the bad thing didn't happen first, it's not going to feel as good, or it's not going to feel good, especially if it's only good things that happen. It's just going to be blah. So to learn to appreciate
victory
that.
only tastes so sweet when you feel defeat.
Exactly. And like you have to feel both sides. And like that's the balance of life. And that's like when you really truly understand that, I feel like you learn to appreciate it more. And yeah, I don't know.
Did
Like
they kill my girl?
what?
Dude, what the hell? I just found a video.
What? I heard
Dr. Judy Wood has suspiciously died.
That's the one
what?
that he said about the towers video.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to find stuff on her, and it says death. And oh my god, she's died. She's dead. She took her out too.
I was
Son,
just,
yo,
bro.
you
I sho-
motherfuckers are gonna get me bumped.
Dude, I
Oh,
showed Danny this thing the other day. This kid on
oh,
Facebook, he was a
oh.
teenager, and fucking he like figured out a way. Karen showed it to me. My wife showed it to me. He like figured out a way to put something on like the meter outside of his house, and it was like showing that the electric company was like charging them for like twice as much whatever amps or whatever they needed, more than what was needed for the house. So his little thing, that his device that he made, changed it and rerouted it to where the house only got what it needed. It didn't get any extra, so they didn't have to pay extra. So
That's
he ended up
good.
doing this for like his people in his neighborhood and whatever. The power companies heard about it. They wanted to buy him out. When he found out their intentions, he said, no. I sent Danny the video on Facebook. He comments on it and goes, what is this? I can't see it. I went back to go check. The video was gone. It was deleted.
Taken down, bro.
I said to Danny, I'm like,
It's
damn, they
fake
fucking got
news,
this kid
right?
too, I guess.
Yeah, they deem this type of stuff fake news. I should go find that bill. But yeah, her stuff was truth. You could look these two women I'm really big on, and now that I'm realizing they're both dead, and they both died within the last 2-3 years, and they had a big following in like 2015, 2016, 2017. In those previous years leading up to, this whole new world that we're in because of this disease that was widespread, right? The common cold. And you could find that the coronavirus is the common cold. They've known about it forever, since they had.
Dude, you can get a regular flu right now and you'd have to call to work and be like, oh, I'm so sick, blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, okay, like you have to use your sick time or whatever. But if you told them, oh, I tested positive for corona, it'd be like, oh, no. You got to stay home and take 10 days or 5 days or whatever the fuck it is. And it's just
Right.
funny because, yeah, it's the same thing in the sense of a flu, or same type of symptoms, same type of all that stuff, or at least the 2 times that I fucking had it. And I don't know. I don't get how people don't think for themselves. Like even like I was talking about, like Joe's big thing to say is always like, well, how come more people don't speak about it? How come nothing's been proven? Or how come this and blah? Well, look, the 2 people that he's even talking about like were murdered or something happened last like however long. Anytime you hear anyone say anything outside of
They
whatever,
silence them immediately.
exactly. Like even what happened with Jim Carrey, dude, they really like messed with him too. He said whatever on like the talk show and like called out Illuminati, and then they killed his girlfriend and then made him like set up to have all these like court cases and stuff. And then after he finished wrapping all that up, he goes, you know what? I retire. I have enough. I've done enough, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. They fucking scared you.
Yeah. There's one you could watch. It's called A Gray State. I believe it's on
Gray State.
Netflix.
Yep.
I'm reading what it says about it right now from the web. We'll say A Gray State 2007.
2017.
Eric Nelson, yada yada,
The
and
director
David Crowley and the murders of his wife and children in
and Alex
2014.
Jones.
So David Crowley was a guy who served in the military. He went overseas. He came back, and him and his buddies, like us, we were like big on something. They got together. They got all their buddies together, and they started making an independent film. The independent film was going to come out and it was going to be spelt Gray State, like not the way they're spelling it with a Gray State. So somehow, hopefully, you could still find pieces of what they were putting together,
Mhm.
spelling it EY and just Gray State. But they took him out. They basically took his wife out and the kids out, and they put it on the news that it was a suicide, homicide, double homicide, suicide. And any of the friends and relatives say no fucking way this happens. And if you see the stuff that he was working on, it was in 2014, and it was about FEMA camps. It was about vaccines. It was about 5G. It was about how basically people are going to be losing their rights and be on food lines.
What year was this again that this came out?
They killed him
2000.
in 2014, but he was working
Oh,
on this
shit.
independent film in like 2013, and
Holy
had
shit.
had a trailer and everything. Like you could watch the trailer, and it's literally, if you watch the trailer, it looks like the year of COVID.
Bro, it's crazy. Even like Avicii, like all these different people that like you hear about, like even the lady that Alec Baldwin shot, the camera
Yeah.
lady, she was working on something too before she got shot. Like everyone that has had an accident or a sudden death or something like that you hear that was working on something like this or exposing someone or whatever the fuck. Like
You
I
see how you
I
mentioned
don't.
his girlfriend? You see how you mentioned Jim Carrey's girlfriend, and they backed him
Mhm.
down into a corner. He's been whatever.
Mhm.
It's collateral damage at
Oh,
this
yeah.
point. Nothing is going to stop them from their agenda. And
Mhm.
there I go again using the word them. But you could look into the Vegas shooting, that mass shooting when there was a concert, and they just took out a whole bunch of people. Like that doesn't make sense. You could just please somebody dig into that, dive into that, because nothing I've looked into adds up except that somebody at that concert was one of their targets, and they needed to just get them at any means possible. The same with that upstate mass shooting at a supermarket in Buffalo.
Well, see, that one I hear you, because that one I hear you, especially because somebody was actually there that got popped. But like for the concert one, I feel like that could just be some crazy person that was trying to just fucking kill people in a crowd. But then
You know
I
how
didn't
much
know about, I would
ammunition
say
and
I didn't know about
guns
all the
that were
rifles and guns and stuff that were in his room with him. So yeah, for him to bring all that stuff up, that would take time for him by himself. Even if he was planning it before that, how would no one notice any of that? So
No,
like,
just in the short amount of time that those rounds were released, it's physically humanly impossible for one person to have released that many rounds of ammunition.
like for that many shots to go off with just one person.
With the particular guns that they're saying, okay, these guns have a 30-round clip. This and you would have to reload simultaneously like 3 of those guns, right? Like mathematically in the time span that they were shot. So there were multiple people shooting and had to reload multiple times.
Gotcha.
So
That makes sense.
I want to just bring this back to 9/11 again, because I do have some questions that I think that I kind of did some research for and have some answers, but you might be able to dig a little deeper on this. So maybe I'll just run it by you and you could I don't know, give me some clarification on it, because
Let's go. Yeah.
what you're talking about like the shootings and stuff like that, and this whole bunch of stuff, these are all false flags in my opinion, where it's like it's a false flag operation where somebody attacks America or invades America, and America has this target already on who it's going to be. Like Hitler did this with Poland, where he blew up a church in Germany and he blamed it on the Polish. So that's how they invaded Poland. And I feel like that's what America did on 9/11.
This stage is grander than just America itself, right? This is
Right.
America in all relativity is like what 200, well, how many, 400 years tops, 17 something. So 1776 is when independence came.
Right,
So
but we landed here probably
know,
what 15, 6, oh,
so that's the Dutch, the Spanish, the fucking English, and
1492.
everybody, the French fighting for their furs, and everybody fighting for this territory, right? So this country itself is just, it's the newest one in terms of the grand scheme of supernovas that have taken this world by
In the
storm.
world, right?
Yeah, and they called it that the Industrial Revolution is what changed everything. But from what I've seen is that Industrial Revolution was a reintroduction of the technology that we had. And Elon Musk has already gone on record saying that artificial intelligence is way more dangerous than a fucking nuke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got these artificial intelligent
Bless you.
robots already going crazy.
Thank you. Well,
So
thank you.
So what I'm going to ask now is I broke them down because I wrote down a couple questions for it. But the first question I have is just obviously why weren't these hijacked planes not shot down? You know, why weren't they shot down? I get that there was innocent people on them and whatnot, but you could have had jets scramble to help assist that situation.
have you looked into it, or you're just like
with this,
throwing it out there?
No, I've looked into it a little bit, and with this, what I got was that the planes weren't commercial planes; they were military planes, or they were simulations for a bomb. And it sounds crazy because people said that they saw a plane, which I get, but it could have been just a missile disguised as a plane. And it's
you know
Yeah,
what
but
you
what
know
about
what
the people that
NORAD
were
is?
manifested on board?
What's
You
that?
ever hear of NORAD?
No, Mr. White, hang on one second. Frank, what'd you say?
What about the people that were manifested on board? Like the people that were supposedly on that flight?
That were on that flight?
Yeah,
That's
like
a good
their
question.
families and like there's not like, so if it was disguised as a missile, what, those people were killed and not on the plane? Like they were going to the airport and what, just all abducted and then like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Touche. Okay.
So
What were you
I
saying about
don't.
NORAD? Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
So I think I forget what the acronym stands for, but NORAD is it is the North American or whatever Response Air Defense Tactical System.
North
that they-
American Aerospace Defense Command.
I was close. There we go. So hey, listen, again, don't quote me on everything. I'm
I got
around
you.
it. But NORAD was what they had in response for that day. There were fighter jets in the air. The problem is, ironically, they were running multiple test drills, exact situational test drills for that
And they
day.
thought that it was just a test.
Yeah, they were already
they were
doing other
running
shit.
They were running a practice as if a flight was hijacked and was going to be crashed into a plane on the exact day, coincidentally, that it actually happened. So they thought that they were just in training.
They thought they were in training. They had already ran a couple drills for it. They were like not near the area, and you know they weren't all get to. And very funny if you want to bring that, how it just is coincidental. In England, they had a very similar situation with a train station. There was a bombing in one of the major English train stations, and the emergency police, the emergency department, the fire department, the volunteer emergency ambulances, all of them were running a test drill that day at that particular station. So that way, when the bomb really did go off, they had full response there. You can check that one out too. I forget the name of the station, but you know, like I feel it's funny. Like the English, definitely. I mean, they ran the same kind of psyop, but at least they took care of their people. They had everybody there ready to go at the scene when they were running the drill that it actually happened that day.
The same thing, like not to get off topic, I just wanted to touch on this, but the cameras accidentally or were not working when Epstein fucking hung himself. Okay. That's what I think about this.
There's
That's a
there's
whole
a
other
video.
topic.
There's a video that a guy had got out of a court order subpoena that he had on his property that was facing the Pentagon. And I think he fought in court for 20 years that the CIA basically came in there and they took his footage from his it was like a gas station or something.
Yeah,
you can find
I saw
you
that.
can look this up, and it shows what actually hit that building that day. And it definitely was not a fucking plane. It happens in the blink of an eye. And what you could see in that footage, it looks like a fucking missile.
So to bring that up, there was no plane found in the Pentagon, and apparently the wings had broke off before the impact of the Pentagon, but the wings were never recovered. No one saw a plane flying that low to the ground, and there's no video evidence except for the one you just mentioned that was recovered from one of the most protected federal buildings ever. There's no cameras to see this.
They
And
wanted to take out the people that were in there. That was the mission, to take out those accountants, and those accountants were on the ball or on the payroll.
They were close to it. They were getting close to where the money's going, and they were like, "We got to fucking take care of it." And they don't care. They'll spill the blood of innocent for the benefit of themselves. Which again, here's my other question: who profited from 9/11? You know, many people profited from because they pulled stocks, because the stocks all fell that week. So the people who knew what was going on, they withdrew their money before the stocks went down.
Besides withdrawing money on stocks, you could look at this and you could find this snippet of factual evidence that there were shorts on American Airline and what's the other airline? It was American Airline.
United 93.
United. Both of those stocks were flying high, looking pretty. Some particular buyer, and the money was not claimed until 29 days after, a whole basic month. They short sold those stocks, like the largest option short ever recorded at that time. It was like the week of. Billions of dollars were made on that. Besides the fact that it sent us into a war that did nothing. Right here we are 22 years later, and if you remember, let's go into this. Here's some coincidence. If I was to tell you that somebody's culture is promised a land of 72 virgins and all the tanks and guns and planes and warheads that their dreams could possibly imagine, right? I'll give you all the mansions and palaces and all the virgins that you want. Just go along with my fucking story. They never got Bin Laden, right? I say that because we never got his body. The most sought after man, just like Hitler, never see his body. Okay, one.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to bring that back again. Go ahead.
September 11, 2001 will never be forgotten in the history of people. What happened in September of 2021?
2021?
Yeah, 20 years later, literally to the day. You don't remember the news that the Taliban basically went back into Afghanistan and that Biden withdrew all the troops?
Oh, yeah.
That was,
and he left all that military shit there?
He left the military shit there, the mansions. If you, me, and Frank here, we were working over there. You're a journalist, I'm a translator, and he's a teacher, right? We're left there. What do you think these guys are going to do to us, our wives, and our children? God forbid their daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Besides that, right? No, everybody wipes their hands and doesn't think of that. They get the palaces, they get the guns, they get the tanks, they get the planes. Go along with our fucking story for 20 years and you'll get everything you've ever wanted. And they did. They got all the women, all the kids, all the guns, all the plane, all the tank, all the mansions, all the pools, everything. They got the country back.
They reclaimed their power.
It was it.
Holy
and that's
shit.
all. That's all they had to do is go along with the fucking life for 20 years. And they had to give it to him.
So now here's the other thing. They said that what they caught Obama. I'm sorry, Osama. What?
They caught Obama.
They caught Osama and they killed him. It was a sneak attack. They made a movie about it. They were claimed heroes, and then they dumped his body in the ocean. Why would they do that? Number one. Number
How about this?
two,
You ever hear about what
face
happened
was
to those
photoshopped.
SEALs?
They killed themselves. Like 9 out of the 13 of them killed themselves, apparently.
How many? Let's look on average. Besides the fact that there's a huge suicidal rate. God bless those troops that go through everything. Please don't do it. But 9 out of how many? Come on, that is too many mathematical anomalies in a small group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Highly trained individuals with the integrity, the intelligence to surpass whatever training they had to do. Besides that, to go through whatever they did to come out of it and okay, we captured the. I was in high school when this happened. If they were in high school and if they're young guys, that was the most thing they wanted to do in their life to mean something. We got him. You mean to tell me now he feels depressed enough to kill himself? Come on.
This is true. This is true. After
Doesn't add up.
accomplishing such a huge victory in their eyes for the military, yeah, you're right. Why would you kill yourself after that?
It doesn't make sense, man. And then go ahead say, okay, that's the conspiracy. Yeah, it's not a conspiracy. You're thinking about it the same way you're gonna break down the word. It's like me and you were gonna conspire to make some money to pay the bills. Like that's a fucking conspiracy. But everybody thinks it's okay because money is money now. Right? You've tricked everybody to want one material thing to get what they desire. Meanwhile, we all had it possible, free energy, all around us, where you don't have to work a job that is repetitive and basically wasteful. Yeah,
The whole thing is truly fucked, man. The whole thing is truly fucked. I'm gonna say one more thing about this before we kind of wrap this up, but I do think that after all these people were sacrificed on this day, there was signs that were leading up to it, whether it was in the Simpsons episode or other movies or other newspapers. There's been multiple, I guess you could say, incidents or showcases where something was going to happen, either with 9/11 and the towers, and it was just always brushed aside. And the way we said before about symbolism, that shit runs the world. And a lot of the times you can see it, you could hear it in music,
look, you're touching symbolism. Let's talk about a very relevant issue right now.
Briefly.
How this girl Candace Owens is trying to shout out Kim Kardashian, who threw her baby daddy under the bus for the Semitic remarks. But what is it, Balenciaga, whatever the pocketbooks
Balenciaga.
Balenciaga. Their new campaign has children holding teddy bears that are in bondage, and one of their pocketbook bags is on a stack of papers, and one of those papers is a Supreme Court ruling that allows child pornography on the internet. So they're I swear to God, look it up. It's the Balenciaga pocketbook new ads. Try to screenshot it while you can before they take it down. But their pocketbook is sitting on a stack of papers, and one of those papers is a Supreme Court document that rules in favor of child pornography. And they have pictures of their ad campaign is these young toddlers holding teddy bears, and the teddy bears are in leather straps and leather bondage equipment. But we're gonna take Kyrie Irving off because he posted a link to something you could rent on Amazon that somebody else produced and directed and profited off of. It, again, nothing is making sense, but in my eyes, what's making sense is the fact that every day they get everybody to wake up, go to work, pay the taxes, and the taxes go to what they need to have done. And it's not to fix the streets, it's not to feed the people. If
you think about it like this, and I'm gonna leave it off at this. If you're someone that's still listening to this right now, and most of the people that have probably made it to this far agree with us to the sense, but if you have and you don't agree with us, think about it like this. If you were someone like how we were saying that does control the world, right? You're supposed to look out the benefit of the world. You're some of the most powerful, whatever people. If you made it look like there was red and blue and this and that and all those different things like we talk about, but you at the end of the day knew what your agenda was, but it was all smoke and mirrors, like how we said about like, oh, well, look at this, like we've talked about it, celebrities do it, oh, we have this beef to draw attention here, but it was staged and this and that, but it happens all the time. But like you said, like at the end of the day, we know our real agenda, but we can use these smoke and mirrors just to get it all done. How does that not make sense? How do people not believe that that's a possibility? It's like, no, that would just be too big or too sophisticated. Why? Like, why? Like, what? Like, how we say like slavery was never abolished, right? Or I've talked about that before. When it was at that point, that's exactly what it was. It was just known. So isn't it easier to, okay, if this is not working, let's make it in a better way to where it's more greased and everything's flowing better. So, oh, we're gonna get rid of it, but we didn't. And then, like, exactly all the things, like how you said, nothing makes sense. The only thing that does make sense to me when you look at all these things is that it is all connected. It is all to one agenda, and everything else is all smoke and mirrors to make you think otherwise. And then that's why there's so much fighting, and that's why we're all fighting about all these other different bullshit things, and nobody can actually sit there and actually think if this is real, especially when all the stuff that shows that it's real is covered up, deleted, fake news, blah blah blah, conspiracy theory. Yeah, exactly. So
I'll say, can I say this? The perseverance of the human race is an ultimate goal, no matter what you might say. These people have bad intentions, right? But I say their ultimate goal is still the preservation of human life on this place that we know it. But it's
cost?
But it's not for the fucking 8 billion motherfuckers here.
No,
It's for the selected group. It's very okay. You have 8 billion. What's 1%, right? What is that? 800,000. Okay, let's just say 10%. You have 80 million people, right? You have enough actors, kids, celebrities, people who have reached a certain echelon of money that they have been successful. You can buy your way into the silver lake. That's another movie that you guys could check out too, Under the Silver Lake. That people that have money, basically, you can stage whatever death you need, disappear, and go to the other side and live the life you want. And it could be however the fuck you want it to be, because nobody knows you're around anymore. But that's a whole nother consciousness transference realm of shape-shifting reptilians that Dan's dying to get into.
I can't wait for that one.
But at the end of the day, if the Draco reptilian race is who the human as we know it race did a deal with, besides the Homo sapien, Homo erectus, like if you had the Nephilim here, they were a giant form of us, but we were scared. They're better, right? You're bigger, you're better, you're stronger, but you're us. But we need to get rid of you. We're gonna do a deal with like a Medusa type person, like that movie Hercules. We're gonna show you turn to stone, whatever it is. We're gonna do a deal, and now we're gonna be the victors. We win, and now we have to do whatever it is to keep you and your race of people happy. If you live underground, you live underground. And we'll feed you fucking kids as much as we can.
Dude, that's a whole nother thing that we're gonna get into at another time.
I am excited to talk about the lizard people too, and the giants more, because I have been looking up more stuff about giants too, and like the old buildings and why they're so tall and just all kinds of shit. So I'm excited to get into that stuff too.
I mean, Tartaria, man, Tartaria, and like the mud flood is just really where you can get into, because you have even the Capitol building, the U.S. Capitol building, when they excavated it in the 60s, had columns under like 20 feet of dirt. Right? You would never think, oh, they built the Capitol building. Why the fuck would you build 20 feet of underground windows, columns, doorways that go under? You wouldn't. They found that fucking building like they found every other fucking building, and they put their bootstraps on, like they like to say, and they dug that shit out.
Listen, this shit can go on forever when we talk about it, and we know that I'm sure it's all linked up to this whole 9/11 thing and why that happened, because we'll talk about this at another time. But like you mentioned at one point, the Stargates and stuff that they found in Saudi Arabia. We're gonna save that for another topic, another episode.
Kuwait. They got Kuwait. Saddam found it in Kuwait, rebuilt it, and then they said, we know for a fact he's got weapons of mass destruction. And that was the weapon, some ancient technology, not no fucking bomb that they never found.
That's why I think that America created this false flag to get everyone behind them so they could go invade and put their troops in the Middle East. And now we have bases there, and we're trying to figure out our shit and get the American people behind us, because America, fuck yeah, right? That's what it is. No one really thinks about it behind it. It's just, you stepped on our boot, so we're gonna cut off your shoe, type of thing. And I don't know, man. It's fucked up. But there's some things that we talked about in this one that Frank and I have previously talked about in another episode, which you can check out if you want. It's the 9/11
No, I've
Inside
been watching,
Job.
checking you guys. Yeah, checking you
Appreciate
guys out.
you.
Thank you, man.
And you did help clarify some of these questions. You did touch on a couple other stuff that was interesting, because even if we didn't know about it at the time, now you're bringing it up, and that's definitely opening up another eye. There's a couple other movies, and I'm gonna watch this Dr. Judy Woods Irrefutable. It's a video.
man,
I think it's like 48
it's good.
minutes. I'm gonna check this out now. So I appreciate that.
It's good. They talk about the seismic chart on how that builder, it registered on the Richter scale that day. That they go into all the literal physics that don't add up when she breaks it down as a forensic crime scene. It's
So I'm gonna
literally
look that up for
irrefutable.
sure.
Yeah,
You guys are gonna go on
irrefutable.
forever. Let's do it. Come on, wrap us out, D. I'm just gonna say that because you
Yo.
guys keep doing it. We keep saying we're gonna
No.
go, and then you get into something else. So
That's
do
me,
it.
man.
You can go on for days. And
I
love
know
that.
that's what I'm saying. You
love
guys said we're
that.
gonna keep it
I
short
love that.
tonight. Let's go.
All right. Well, then, short and to the point. Thank you for the likes, listen, shares, and follows. We appreciate your support. Check out these episodes on Judy Woods, Gray State, and what was the other one? Under the Silver Lake. Check those out.
No, that's a funny one. That's the fucking Netflix movie.
Oh,
But
well, then
if you watch it,
I'm
what
gonna check it
happens-
out.
It's
Andrew
funny.
Garfield is in it.
Yeah, you'll like it. There's tits and ass in it.
Perfect. All right. man.
I'm not gonna lie, I liked it. There was tits and ass in it.
There you
Thank
go.
you for joining us, Mr. White. We appreciate you.
Always.
Got it.
Till next time, brother.